Sometimes in life, we are dealt in a hand that it's not fair. Being HIV or AIDS positive isn't any completely different. Look, if someone had a broken arm, a flu, or perhaps cancer, we would feel sympathy for them. However, if someone were to possess HIV or AIDS, society becomes repulsed. They deserve the same sympathy and empathy as anyone else. In today's high technology world, major problems still exist. The matter that's checked out the most is coercion. However, there is a problem that has killed and is still killing far more people than coercion ever has. And that problem is the human immunodeficiency virus or the acquired immunodeficiency virus. Those that it's thought about by many to be a plague. The reason that the disease has devastated so many people is because they lack of knowledge and education on how to deal with the disease. The information encompassing the illness is why so many fear it and discriminate the ones who have it. Since society doesn't absolutely perceive the illness and the way it may be contracted, some still believe they will catch it through bite from the restroom seat or perhaps breathing the same air. These fallacies must be removed from the incognizant minds of the people. Let me give you the overview of the transmission of HIV into another person. According to the Department of Health, HIV may be transmitted through body fluids. Through sexual contact, it may happen through anal, oral, or vaginal sex. It can also happen throughout pregnancy, childbirth, or breastfeeding, and from intermission with infected blood from used syringes. Some could disagree and say the stigma is secured and those infected ones ought to be cursed by their own unmindful actions. These negative thoughts and actions are what causes anxiety in some folks with the illness, and it additionally causes some to not even get tested for the fear of rejection. According to Ravindra Gupta's doctor team, a London patient appears to may become the second person ever cured of HIV. The man has been tested negative from the virus nearly after receiving a bone marrow transplant. The reassurance of the curative operation is not 100%, but we must fight, we must trust, and we must hope. They need help and support of the society and not the perception of the limitation. HIV is indeed a terrifying disease anyone could have, but having the supportive people around you will help a lot to prevent this affliction. Your family and friends are the fundamental reason to stay and fight to live longer and seize every single day. To every positive out there, it's not to face the reality is to face your death, but rather to face the reality is to fight for your life. There is so much things out there. You don't need to live behind the bars like you've done something or can harm someone. People living with HIV can live longer and healthy lives by taking the treatment correctly. We cannot please anyone, yes, but we have the power to uphold awareness and to be an eye-opener to everybody, to uplift and educate regarding the disease and to support the afflicted ones. We must never fear those infected, but rather respect and give concern to them as it is what they really needed. Stigma blocks access to HIV testing and treatment services, creating transmission more likely to extend. If you have a partner and you find out that they are positive, there is an 80% chance they cheated, right? The question is, are you willing to continue your relationship and think you can both work it out and restart a new life? Being committed into a relationship means trusting that person and forgiving that person. That's not the deal here. Rather, how you will deal with it by not having the boundary within your relationship. It will never be a similar private warrant to a couple. However, it can work. Their solid duty and trust can battle and endeavor to get up each morning with smiles and easy emotions. It's beyond your choice or your partner's choice to step down or stay. We all have the reason to stay or leave if we want to. The fear of its transmissible circumstances makes it the reason to separate ways and to give a chance to one person the life they deserve and the persistence of one side. Allegiance is one special ingredient in preventing this disease because if you have the loyalty to your partner, you'll never attempt to come in for another satisfaction or enjoyment. Another one is stereotyping. Stereotyping is also one thing to consider someone more capable of transmitting the disease. Your race and gender in the conventional way to judge someone. A gay, transgender, or a black man. Some of these are the predictable abstract when it comes to the society. We must get away with these mindsets and break the silence of judgment of the people. We live in a society where respect and equality is laboriously hard to attain, making us desperately seek further attention, which leads to unmindful actions. But one thing is for sure, there is no one to blame but ourselves are the perpetrators of one's actions. Our God is not judgmental. Do not think of yourself as a waste after tested positive just because you did a reckless thing and had HIV, because I still believe in the saying that everything has its own consequences and reasons. And as long as you have friends and family with you, you have the reasons to fight for your life because love is braver. According to the Department of Health, the increasing case of HIV in the Philippines are males aged 15 to 34 years old. In the previous months, it expected to teach the male populations on safe sex. However, Morris said it is similarly essential to instruct females who could likewise have the sexual contact with men having intercourse with men. As a student, I still agree in the condom distribution in schools led by DOH and accompanied by sex education. Since I think in that manner, students at a very young age will be educated when it comes to having sexual intercourse that can prompt the said ailment when not educated properly. With this, we can avert the expanding amount of HIV rates in our nation. For me, it is considerably more important that this information disregarded by a portion of the schools are first directed in our homes or by our family. Since this data needs privacy as it alludes in our own life later on. If you somehow happen to be or a hopeful parent or guardians to your kids, will you teach them about the awareness? Will you be open to your child saying sensitive and profane words? For them to be instructed and appropriately taught? Yes, you should. Because as a person or as a parent, you should be the first one building your child's perception in life, and you should be the first one educating them about this matter. If you're an adult now and didn't get the opportunity to ask your parents, it's a matter of choice if you want to learn it or pretend you knew about it. Always remember that prevention is better than cure. Although Catholic institutions edify that sex can only happen after marriage the night after the wedding, it is still always important to know these inhibitory practices and implement it in our day-by-day lives. Much the same as having a secured sex. However, a few says that ensuring yourself is an indication of hostile to life which takes the virtue of sex in the sanctity of church. But in a sense of development and transparency, we should both obey the law of congregation and the practices to prevent having an illness in the future. As much as these convictions negates one another, it is much more important to be mindful at all times, especially in the teenage years. Everyone search for a more secure spot where disparity and separation towards the ailment is absent. We should face the reality. Not anybody will regard you and pity you just because you have a sensitive and serious illness to talk about. I am here to encourage all of you to be brave and reject the fear of disproportion by getting tested for HIV. There is an association that leads and conduct people curiosity about themselves. The Love Yourself PH is an organization that commits itself to normalize the conversation about sex, HIV, testing, and living with HIV. It gives you the learning and the right way in controlling and keeping up your self-consideration and sexual well-being. They also give someone in need for some pills for HIV prevention and HIV testing center in various places in Manila. Based from the experiences of the people with their convenience, they welcome everyone and let them feel calm and relaxed, which is their common purpose, to break the fear of getting tested. They also sell t-shirts for a cause, to support those living with HIV and those support its advocacy. If I were to have or direct a wide extent of the fondness and keep it from spreading out, I wish to enlist a yearly blood testing in tertiary level, not to humiliate somebody discovered tainted, yet additionally to bring issues to light and end the stigma. This will support the next generations and can limit the persistent pace of HIV here in our nation. The stigma that makes boundary and limits to your loved ones. The stigma that loses your self-esteem. The stigma that is the reason of why they beg someone to just leave them rather than care for them. This is the terrible part of the disease. Hence, with all of that in your choice on how we deal about it. Presently, before I end this speech, let me ask you a question. Would you say you are prepared to get tested?